Hi, it's your friend Geri Atrik. After a couple of days off, and we got the paper on Sunday, and I was looking at the comic strips. The only one I recognized was Peanuts, who was one of my favorites. Uh, and I began to think about growing up and the what a big section of the newspaper the comics were, uh, and they were all in color, and they were very popular because it was before TV, and the only way you saw cartoons was maybe if at the Saturday movie, uh, but. Um, it was a very important part of the newspaper business. And in Stanford, we had several well-known cartoonists. Right up the street from us in High Ridge was Alex Raymond, whose famous strip was Flash Gordon. And that morphed into Rip Kirby, which was he did until he died at a relatively young age in an automobile accident. I think he was 46. And then Mort Walker, who did Beetle Bailey, High and Lois. Um, he bought the old Borglum studio and made it into a house, so that's where he lived. Another neighbor was Ernie Bushmiller and his wife Abby, who were good friends of ours. And his strip was, originally was Fritzy Ritzy, and that morphed into Nancy, which he drew for forever. Then there was Gus Edson, who lived downtown in Stanford, and he did the Gumps, which went on forever. I mean, he didn't originate it, but he drew it for 24 years. And then he did Dondi, which was a second strip that he did. And actually, there's a park in Stanford named after him. A native guy, Tony DiPetra, he became more of the comic book artist, but he ended up doing Mickey Finn in the newspapers and Joe Palooka, which was another one that went from one cartoonist to another, as they died or whatever. And there was another one, Lyman Young, who, what did he do? Tim Tyler. Tim Tyler's Luck, it was called. And his brother did not live in the area, but his brother, Chick Young, did Blondie, which was another big strip. Now, I'm saving the most important one in our life, or my life, to the end, and that was H.T. Webster, who was a self-taught cartoonist, and he was also a patient of my grandfather's, my Dr. Staub. And he did mostly, it was for the New York Herald Tribune, and he did mostly single-panel cartoons. And it was Casper Milquetoast or The Timid Soul. And he had like a weekly theme where, I don't know, Mondays he'd do bridge, but he had a theme for each day. And on Sundays, he did a full comic strip, with I don't know how many panels, but several. And one Sunday paper featured Dr. Staub, where the timid soul, or Casper Miltos, went to see my grandfather, and it showed him just as his office looked. And my grandfather told Casper Miltos that he should go to Florida and enjoy a couple of weeks, and he'd probably feel better. So he leaves the office, and as he's walking the streets of Stanford, he runs into friends, and they said, "Well, how's everything?" Well, he said, "I'm going to Florida. That's what my doctor ordered." And they would say, "Well, I hear the weather is awful down there, and the bugs." And then he'd go a little further and meet somebody else, and they would say, "Oh, I just had some friends that came back there. They had the worst time you can believe," and so on and so forth. And he finally arrives home, and his wife greets him and says, "Well, what did the doctor say?" He said, "Well, stay home for a while." But anyway, and that strip is hanging in my son's office here in Litchfield, if you're ever in there and take a look at it. But so that concludes my comic strip story for this week, and I'll see you in a few days. Bye bye.